We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Sorry, I forgot my gavel. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First up, we have Jack Clint is going to introduce our guest singer for this evening.
Hi, I'm Avea.
Hi, Andrea.
The sun come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow. Clear away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. I'm stuck with that day that's gray and lonely. I just stick on my chin and grin and say, oh, the sun come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow, you're always a day away. The sun come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow. Clear away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. I'm stuck with that day that's gray and lonely. I just stick on my chin and grin and say, oh, the sun come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow, you're always a day away. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow, you're always a day away.
Where's the golden buzzer? Thank you, Avea. Thank you so much, Mom, for bringing her. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order now, and we are going to do attendance. Marilyn Stout is absent. We have Todd Reinhardt on phone.
Present.
John Elkins.
Here.
Grady Stevens.
Present.
Bill Simonelli.
Here.
Kathleen Falastini here. Stan.
Here.
Thank you. So we have a guest speaker this evening coming to us from the city of Cape Coral on solid waste management. He is the waste management manager. Is that your correct title? And his name is Solid Waste Manager, Terry Schweitzer. Thank you, Terry.
Can you hear me okay? All right, cool.
I don't know how I follow that act, but she was great. And she had a key word, tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. And I think probably the one thing that's on everybody's mind, and when is your debris getting picked up? It's either tomorrow or the day after. In all seriousness, I spoke to the series contractor today. They're finishing up. You guys are basically what we call in Zone 4, and they're finishing up, let's see, the eastern half, and they're going to be coming over into this side. They'll start with the horticulture, and then any C&D that's on the ground, they'll grab that. So you're a day away. So it's close. It's close. But, you know, a little bit about the process, especially with homeowners associations. A lot of you probably are familiar. But how the process works, it's considered private property. So there's a process that we have to follow with FEMA, and it's called private property debris removal, PPDR for short. And we have to get approval from the state first to be able to carry on those activities in a private community such as Sandoval. Once that is given approval, then we have what we call the right of entry form that your board has to fill out and complete. There's some things on there about insurance and giving us the permission to come in and do those kinds of things. Once that's completed and submitted, we have it. And then what happens is we'll give it to and talk about it with the contractor to call the gated community, Sandoval in your instance, and then they'll schedule a time to come out and, you know, work it in and work that. We don't like to micromanage the debris haulers because that's what they do for a living. They're the experts. So we like to keep that coordination between Sandoval and the gated community. I will say, you guys are on top of it. You were the first ones to get your right of entry form put in. So that's, you know, kudos. So you guys are definitely on top of it. So that's been the plus. There's about 26 gated communities in Cape Coral, and about 10 of them have submitted a right of entry form. Yeah, so yeah, if you don't submit that form, then it's up to the community to get the debris picked up. So that's why there's this process, and there is a waiting period because we have to make sure that the state okays it. In my experience, I've been in the solid waste business 25 years, different areas on the Gulf Coast. I've not ever seen it be turned down, an application to be able to do it, but we still have to make sure we cover all the bases. With that being said, just some interesting facts, right? So Cape Coral, the estimate is there's about 1 million cubic yards of horticulture yard waste that has to be picked up, and about 800,000 cubic yards of C&D material. And then there's about another 200,000 cubic yards in the canal. To kind of put it in context, a cubic yard is the size of a washing machine. So there's like 2 million washing machines worth of debris out there that's got to get picked up if you stack them all up. So it takes a while. The contractors have about 160 units a day out there right now collecting across the entire city of Cape Coral. It goes to the staging areas, which if you've driven around, you've probably seen big piles of yard waste or C&D, probably heard some of the stories. You may have seen me talking about it on TV. Those are intermediate staging areas. All the debris will go there. It gets processed, the yard waste gets ground down, and then the C&D gets run over with a bulldozer and smashed down. Then from there, it'll get hauled out in semi-trucks to a compost facility, the yard waste does, and then the C&D will go to a Class 3 landfill that just takes C&D material. Why is it important to keep the bags out of the waste stream, these two waste streams? FEMA has they have guidelines for reimbursement, and we don't want to put burdens on taxpayers down the road because they could deny waste streams. They don't like to do it, but I mean, it could happen because there's too much contamination. That contamination is the black and garbage bags, because when they're picking it up at the street, they don't know what's in it, and the waste streams have to be separated. So there's a certain allowable amount, like anything, but if it gets over that, then they can say that load we're not paying for, the FEMA won't. So then that goes on the burden of the taxpayers. So we're doing it as efficiently as we can, but to stay within FEMA guidelines. And that's pretty much what it is. Right now, where by Sunday, we'll be about halfway through the amount of estimated debris in Cape Coral. It'll be off the ground. The goal is to have it all picked up by the end of November. Very aggressive goal, but the contractor we're working with are one of the best, if not the best in the business. They are really, really good at it. As we ramped up to this number, it starts out a little slow at the beginning because they have subcontractors that work for them. So kind of imagine in this room, I was the prime contractor series, and everybody else in the room worked as a subcontractor picking up debris. So all that coordination has to go on. They assign zones and subzones of different subcontractors. They track it. We have a monitoring firm per FEMA requirements that monitors every single piece of debris that's picked up. They take pictures, the loads are checked, and all that takes time to ramp that up because you go from 0 trucks to 160 trucks as quick as you can. And these guys did it in record time. So we're on track to be done and have really all the debris other than maybe some spot checks here and there by the end of November. So with that being said, I'm open for questions. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Bags, does that include the paper bags, the brown lawn bags?
So that's a good question. Thanks for bringing that up. So the brown lawn bags, as long as that's out with your horticulture debris, that will get picked up with the horticulture debris.
Okay.
And did you have a question or no? Same one? Okay, question over here. Appliances will come at a later, that's the last part of the process. So the appliances will get picked up. Mm-hmm. Yep, so that's a good question. So you got a few options. One is to what you just said. You could take the bag, empty the contents on your brush pile, and then or whatever you have out there, that'll get picked up. The second option is you could take it yourself up to our northwest yard waste site. It's basically at the corner of Diplomat and Old Burnt Store Road. There's a big yard waste site there that residents can take debris. If you take yard waste there in a bag, you have to empty the bag and take the bag back with you. And then the third option is wait till we work with Waste Pro to reestablish and start the yard waste again and put it out there. So the first two options are your best right now, because we don't have a hard start date yet when we're going to ask Waste Pro to start picking up horticulture. And the same thing, that's a good question. So the same thing goes with C&D. If you want to take your C&D material yourself, the C&D resident drop-off site opened today. That's at 1821 Southwest 42nd Street. The same things apply. You can't bring hazardous waste or things like that. If you bring debris in a bag, then you have to open up that bag, dump it out, and then take the bag with you. The reason for they have to have the contents empty, there's no control over what's in that bag. So there could be hazardous material that people inadvertently will say, put in the bag, and then that's out there. That could theoretically contaminate all the waste at the staging area, and FEMA would disallow all of that for eligibility. So again, we're looking out for the taxpayers as part of this whole process, trying to get it up as quick as possible. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
If I could interrupt for just a minute. Whenever you take a question from someone, they don't have a microphone, so the people that are watching can't hear their question.
Oh.
When they ask the question, would you mind summarizing your understanding of the question and then give a response?
Absolutely. Yep. So your question, you want to know how long the smell will be? So If there's something like that, I would ask somebody to report it because we need to look at it because there's going to be an odor from a compost site, from the yard waste site. That's just natural. Like when you put fresh mulch down, that's that odor. I've been at the C&D site. There hasn't been any putrescible waste or rotten garbage and stuff there because that can't be picked up. That has to go with Waste Pro. So if you have something like that, if you report it to 311 so it can be investigated, we'll certainly look at it. A good question, and it may be the sewer. If that's something that would be reported to 311 so they could investigate it. But it's a good question. Yes, ma'am. So it's a good question. Some of the vegetation, how come we're not burning it? So we are going to be setting up what's called an air curtain incinerator, ACI. Old terminology, slang was a burn box. That's going to be set up at the Northwest Yard Waste site. That site is allowed to have ash at it. So based on the permitting with the state, only certain places can accept ash. That's one of them. They have to have enough volume to keep it running all the time. So it's a very good question. That is expected to start Monday or Tuesday of next week. What an ACI air curtain incinerator is, it's a designed like project in the dirt. They have to make it a certain dimension. They have to bring blowers in, and what happens is that blower will generate an air curtain, and it's like it gets so hot that it doesn't generate smoke, and that's the whole purpose behind it. So there isn't the smoke. Years ago, they used to have open burning. That was allowed, but because of the amount of smoke that was generated and all that extra, pollutants that went in the air, they said we can't do that anymore. So, any other questions? So your question is about the bulk items being picked up? That will be after the vegetation. So when they come into Sandoval, they will do the horticulture first, and then they'll come back and get the bulk items. It'll be as soon as, we'll call it after the first pass of vegetation. Based on the amount of homes and the estimate of debris, probably 1 to 2 days in Sandoval picking up the vegetation, and then probably a day and a half of the C&D bulk. Good question. Thank you for asking. Yes, ma'am. So if we when is the debris pickup in Sandoval going to start? So we'll change the lyrics of the song a little bit. Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. That's what they told me, for sure. So they will be doing pickups on Saturday? Yes, it will be an everyday pickup, correct. That's a good answer. So good question. The pickup will be every day. They're working 7 days a week right now to get stuff picked up. You're welcome. And sun up to sundown. So.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schweitzer. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Stan, can I have the list? The sign list? Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, next up we have resident questions. 3 minutes. Jack, I believe, is going to monitor the minutes. Jack, right? Were you assigned to that? You got it? Okay, Chuck's doing it. So first up is Stu.
Hi, I'm Stu Seckler. I'm a liaison for Vario. Some of the people had some questions they wanted me to bring up for the board, and that most of it has to do with behind our homes, not the ones that face the lakes, but that back up to each other. It'd be probably the even numbers on a 2600 block and the odd numbers on the 2600 block and the evens on the 26. anyways, there's a white fence, plastic fence that goes behind quite a few of the homes, and they were wondering if it was up to us to fix them or the HOA to fix them. And then the other question was, there's hedges also back there, and the board said something about an 8-foot height on those, and people are saying that I've seen it before, that they're close to 10 feet or more, and who's supposed to take care of that? The resident?
As the neighborhood rep,
Yes.
it's your job.
Yeah, right. That won't happen. Those were the questions that were brought up to me, and then I have my own personal question.
Go ahead with your own person.
When I moved in, they said something about this is not a golf cart community, and I've seen more and more golf carts. Some of them have license plates on them. Is that okay to drive around with one as long as it has a license plate on it?
As long as they are a licensed
Vehicle?
motor vehicle,
Okay.
they are okay.
And they're supposed to obey the stop signs
They are
also?
supposed to obey the stop signs, and if you
Okay.
see that they're not, please report it to the
Oh.
office.
Okay,
Okay,
sure.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I'm writing your questions down. Pardon me? Oh, I'm writing the questions down. We don't have answers for everything tonight. That has been addressed already. It's on our list of questions that we have for the insurance adjuster and et cetera. So we will get back to you on the vinyl, and the hedges will be dealt with as soon as we catch up with the other landscaping. Okay, next person is Mr. Robertson. Sorry.
Well, I never seen an agenda, so I don't have the opportunity to talk on an agenda item. But I
Town
just wanted
Square.
to say
Did you not
for-
see it on Town Square?
I just want to say for our residents, we do have some lights out there. When you go outside, it's not working. Have your phone so you can safely get to your vehicle, so we don't want anybody to get hurt. I see one out there, but once you get past that, it might be difficult, so have your phone. And I just want to say thank you for the job you've done so far, Chuck and the board, and continue to do good work.
Thank you, Tom. Eric?
Hi,
Hello.
Eric Blythe from Hopefield Court. One of the standing items I've always asked about but never received an answer for almost a year now. What are the outstanding HOA dues? And related to that, specifically for those people who are not paying their dues, what specific actions are you taking? For example, if they have a card like this, that means they have access to the amenities. We got to stop that. So we're relying on you as the board to come up with appropriate things to deny them access to any of our amenities. I know we can't deny access to the community, but for example, they should only be coming in on the pedestal on veterans, and through software you can fix that on the back gate. Right now, of course, it's wide open, but if you could start choking them down a little bit so they'll start paying what they owe.
Mr. Blythe, I have answered your question twice, and I answered it by email and gave you the general ledger number, so I'll do that again.
I never received it.
I did.
Sorry.
I spoke to you personally twice about this.
Okay.
So I'll send you another email. I'll
you.
find the copy of the email that I did send you, and I did announce it at a board meeting, the general ledger number. So it's there and it's available for residents, and I'll get it out to everybody so that everybody can see that. And we do have outstanding dues. They are outstanding, and we did institute shutting people down for their amenities, and it is happening.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good, thank you. And the other thing was the pool, and I assume Chuck's going to give us
Yes,
an
he
update.
is. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Johnson, Miss Johnson, sorry. Christine, sorry about that.
I'm assuming it's going to be discussed, but I would like to have an in-depth conversation about the stone-coated steel or other roof options. So
We're going to be making an announcement about that. Thank you. Roofs.
I would like to have a discussion about the stone-coated steel or other roofing options.
Cliff, you're up.
Hi, my name's Cliff Weitzman. I live on Maraville. I'm the guy who takes all those nice pictures, if you see them. My question is, I got basically two questions, and it has to do with the money, and you may not have all those answers, but it's on my mind, and it'll be on others people's mind next year. First question is the cost for the debris and tree removal included in our contract with Crawford? If not, what's the additional cost for their current services? And the second question, does the HOA budget have sufficient funds to cover the cleanup and plant replacement? If not, where will the money come from? Insurance, special assessment, how much per resident? I mean, it's an immense thing, and Crawford's doing a great job, but like everything, there's a cost. So I'm just wondering if you know some of those numbers. Did you get an estimate before you said to them, go ahead and do this?
We will be discussing that tonight. And it's a separate contract that's signed every year, early in the year, for hurricane. It's a separate hurricane contract, and it's done every year, and it's on
Treasurer's report.
the treasurer report.
Great.
Okay.
Good.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you. Good question. Okay. So moving on, approval of regular board meeting minutes for August 25th, special board meeting minutes for September 7th. That was Bocce, and October 9th. That was, sorry, forgive me, I'm forgetting what was what. Oh, that was after the hurricane to discuss several issues. I have one change. It's just on attendance on October 9th meeting. Marilyn was not present. Okay. Anybody else have any other corrections or comments on the minutes?
No comment.
Okay. Okay. President report. So he showed up and answered all those questions. I am going to add that I have been driving around through the community. Yeah? Oh, I apologize.
Thank you.
I do make a motion to accept the minutes. Do I have a second? And any discussion, any issues? All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, so I have been driving around the community as everybody has. I have one comment that I want to add. There's a lot of screens in your debris piles on the streets, on the residential streets. So make sure there's no screens in there. There's some furniture that are in the debris piles. So make sure that those are out so that you're not skipped and your pile is not skipped. And he talked about emptying the black bags if you want to. There is a third option, which somebody stole my fire and already started it on Facebook. You can do it privately if you are sick and tired of seeing the debris. So I do see that came out on one Facebook page. I don't know if it's on the others. I'm not on many. So that is an option that you have to do that, to pay for debris removal if you want. If you want to take the debris yourself in your truck or your neighbor's truck, the address is 2930 Northwest 13th Street from 8 to 6 daily. And you do need your ID that you are a Cape Coral resident. Let's see. During the state of emergency, the Board of Directors acts under emergency powers. One of the only things that I'm aware of that we enacted under the emergency powers was to approve repairs for our gate system. Our gate system, not the gates themselves, but the system, the electronics took major hits, and the balance for repairs is $46,125. That is submitted to the insurance company. We're not going to wait until insurance. I can guarantee after dealing with the insurance adjuster, we are going to be going back and forth with them. Okay? So anyhow, so that I wanted to bring up and mention tonight. That was signed by Bill and I. Is that ratified? Are we ratifying that at this meeting? Okay, what do we have to do to ratify? Okay.
I move that we approve that expenditure.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion or questions on it? Okay.
Only question I have is some of this was actually goes back to the lightning strike. Is that also covered by insurance?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, there's a claim for the
So
lightning strike.
we know we'll get some money. We just got to find
Yes.
out how much it is.
Yeah, for the lightning strike, we had a $5,000 deductible, and so the rest is under insurance.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, so all in favor say aye.
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 Todd?
Aye.
Thank you. And aye. Thank you very much. Okay, so, all right. So, as I mentioned, the insurance adjuster already came on property last week to assess all the common areas, buildings, and amenities, and we're waiting to hear the results from his assessment from the carrier. Returning to normalcy, it's very important that we begin to establish post-Hurricane Ian normalcy in our personal lives as well as within the community. As new roofing material is being examined by the ARC Committee and Board of Directors, our HOA needs to give attention to moving forward with pre-hurricane projects such as continued pool repairs, power washing sidewalks, the bocce court and paver renovation, Hanukkah and Christmas and New Year's celebrations, etc. Upcoming 2023 Board of Director elections, it's time to start considering your bid and nominations for the March elections. There are 3 seats that will be opening at that time. In addition to serving on the Board of Directors, please consider volunteering for one of our committees. Committee work has proven quite successful in working with the HOA issues, and recommendations continue to be a valuable asset to the General Manager and to the Board of Directors. The 2023 operating budget and reserve study has started. The Finance Committee members are gathering info to support various budget proposals. A finance meeting for residents, encouraging attendance, will be announced prior to the Board of Director adoption of the new budget at the December Board of Director meeting. Reserve advisors began the new reserve study with a due date of December 5th. We had a 3-hour preliminary meeting last week and the property inspection was completed. Did I miss anything? Nope, I'm good. So, just want to remind you of our upcoming holiday Board of Director meeting changes. November, because of Thanksgiving, is November 17th. And for December holidays, the meeting will be on Thursday, December 10th. Next up is Chuck, our General Manager.
I had this really cool slide presentation all set, ready to go, but I had some technical problems. For the most part, those of you in the room, my slideshow, I will put it up on Town Square, but what it was, in preparation for the hurricane, we take insurance photos before and after. And we took a lot of pictures before the hurricane hit. We took a lot of pictures for insurance purposes after the hurricane hit, and we took a lot of pictures after cleanup. And that's really what I was going to illustrate more for people watching at home, because those of you sitting in the room here can just look out the window over the last 3 or 4 weeks and have seen where we were and where we've come from today. But unfortunately, we've got some technical problems. I will talk a little bit about, obviously it's been a while since we've had a meeting. We as a team did everything according to our hurricane plan to batten down the hatches here and protect the assets to the best of our ability. Pool furniture were brought into the room. This building was locked down. The canopy off the playground was removed, the tennis courts. We did everything we possibly can to protect the common elements from that type of windstorm. Shortly after we came here, we started reassessing and immediately started contacting our vendors. And if you've seen at the end of my GM reports, I put Sandoval Strong. Well, I'm changing it to we are on the list for the vendor. So just like you, we're on the list. So my my job now is to basically be a pester to every electrical contractor, Invera, gate manufacturer, pool manufacturer, everything you possibly think to kind of make sure that we stay on the list and get moved up. It's all about now recovery, and we've gone a long way from what we've seen out here as far as the damage, Category 4 hurricane. I'm proud of the team and the board. We've stayed together. We've worked through this. This is a very stressful time for everybody. If you've been to some of my coffee, when I joined the coffee and conversation, I've said it many times. This is Category 4 hurricane. If you were here with us and you stayed here, it wasn't fun. We all have personal damage at our homes. We also have jobs. And this team, this board really came together to make sure that we stayed on track and we protect our assets. From that, where we are today, as I mentioned, we are waiting in line patiently and impatiently to get the contractors we need to support us, to get us back to where we were before the lightning strike. Everyone thinks about the hurricane, but we also have 2 insurance claims. We had a direct hit lightning strike here, 6 weeks ago, which damaged our Invera system, which damaged our ability to make new member cards for new owners, access to the property, and we don't have lights around the pool. The reason why the lights are not in the parking lot is because that lightning strike. We sustained additional damage from, this is my assistant, Jack. Thanks, Jack. We good? We good? Stereo. Now I forgot where I was. See? The lightning strike. You confused me. No. So we're still working through the lightning strike. It's just like an insurance claim for the hurricane. We're getting quotes, we're getting prices, we're trying to get ourselves back to where we were. So I'm coming up on 3 months working here. Boy, you guys are throwing a lot of stuff at me. So everything comes in threes, right? Like what's next? The locusts are going to come? So tornado. Tomorrow. This has been a challenge, personally and professionally. I love a challenge. I've met some really great people here. I've met some, great folks that really care about this community. Beth over there for bringing to our attention Avia to sing that song tonight was a touching. That's part of you as Sandoval. That's what this community is about. I have other things that we'll discuss as we roll through the agenda, which are, moving forward. Again, I apologize for my technical difficulties. Mr. Finance Committee, can I put in the budget for a new laptop?
I'll think about it.
Okay, good. Right,
Wait till you see these numbers.
Okay, next up is the treasurer. Oh, sorry.
I just add one comment. Chuck, thank you so much for the 3 months you've given us. I don't think anybody would ever have anticipated that. But I've seen some of your employees. I think we've all seen some of the employees washing windows, and the things that they did before, during and after the hurricane were phenomenal things. They stepped up very nicely. Everybody has done a great job with no complaints. They've been very kind to each and every resident, and I think that I would like to offer my appreciation and perhaps speak for the board and even the residents. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for empowering your employees to take care of us the way they did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Simonelli. Oh, you're going to go first? Go ahead.
Look at him.
Okay. All right.
Lights down, or are you going to keep them?
Okay. So when I did the first treasurer's report back in August, I started using this format for trying to summarize the numbers. And I'll be going through the traditional numbers, but I'm also going to spend a little time today going through the financial impact that we see as of now from Ian. So, just an executive summary, just as following up from old business, we have been following through on moving the reserve funds into the Fifth Third account. So we've done 3 significant deposits over the course of the last several months, and our current balance is a little bit over $3 million. We have about 99.4% of our funds are in government-backed Treasury securities, and about 0.06% is in cash at this point. And we're going to be doing an ongoing evaluation with the Fifth Third account team. We were scheduled to have a portfolio review with them the week of Ian. Obviously, that didn't happen, and we're going to reschedule that probably for the December timeframe. Hurricane Ian happened, and we're going to talk about that more in a minute. We've been working with Associa almost on a daily basis. I've been meeting with Chuck and Yamali, going through the numbers so that we have a good handle and work, so that we can consolidate all this information so that we can get it in front of the insurance and the FEMA people to try to see what we can get out of it. There is long-term impact to the reserves, which we'll have to deal with. That's going to be once we get our full hands around what the total number is going to be. There's different ways that we can deal with that, but just something will have to be done probably next year about backfilling some of the reserves. And the August lightning strike, which we've talked about right now, we've cataloged about $25,000 of damage, and there might be some additional charges that go against that, but that's the extent of the damage that we're still that Chuck and team were still trying to deal with when Ian hit. The budget. Kathleen mentioned that we are working on the budget, and I'll talk more about the structure of that in the Finance Committee report. The reserve study is underway, as Kathleen mentioned, and based on some of the numbers that we'll talk about in a minute, we'll be focusing on key increases in landscaping, insurance, personnel, and any ongoing restoration costs that we'll have to deal with going into 23. Hurricane Ian financial impact. So on this side, this is the current state of where we see things in terms of financial impact to the community. The big ticket item right now is the landscape debris removal. That is an estimate based on the Crawford contract terms. We're trying to get a detailed inventory of their hours against the various work that's been done. So that number may go up or down a bit, but in general, we have any number that you see with a rounded 0 as an estimate. Any other number you'll see is based on quotes that Chuck and team have received to this point. There are a number of large ticket items like the entrance gates within Vera. Something I learned as a new Florida resident, those aren't tiki huts, they're cheeky huts, based on what the Seminole Indians, how they used to build them. So I've learned that this week. Community area lighting, tennis courts, and my personal estimate is that we're probably going to be somewhere in the range of $750,000 total cost to the community to get it back to where it was. The extent of our insurance, best case scenario, our deductible will be about $162,000, but it'll be a while before we know what is going to be covered by insurance and what we're going to end up having to pay for ourselves. The FEMA contribution is TBD. Kathleen did put in an application into FEMA. That's going to take a while with the government bureaucracy, so here again, we just don't know what that impact's going to be yet. Funding options that we will be considering down the road to do the backfill is we can draw money from the reserves, because we do have a $3 million reserve that we can look at. We could do a one-time operating assessment specifically to cover these, and that would be about $100, maybe to $200 per unit total, that we could spread it over 4 payments or something like that. And then there's the possibility of an SBA loan from FEMA at 1%. Have to look at those terms to see if they make sense to us as a community. So these are sort of the shape that we're in right now. Moving forward, financials. We did not have our meeting in September, but so this is a consolidation, a year-to-date of both the August and September financials. As of now, our operating income is good, and we're within a couple $1,000s of where we budgeted to be from an income basis. We do have issues on the expense side, which we'll dive into in a bit more detail in a minute. But basically, on an aggregate basis, we're going to be about $100,000 over budget, as it looks like this year, and it might be a little bit more before things are all done with the Ian stuff. We did identify, if you look at the paperwork, if you look in Town Square and look at the financials on Town Square, we did identify that the $155K payment to Morgan & Morgan was incorrectly applied into the repair and maintenance ledger account. So that sort of skews the variance on that, but we do have some other variances to deal with in the repair and maintenance. And that's it on that one. Okay. These expense categories, as I mentioned before, comprise 90% of our budget. And by and large, we are in good shape with the exception of two items, neighborhood irrigation and landscaping, and repair and maintenance. When you take the Morgan & Morgan payment out of repair and maintenance, we're about $60,000 over in repair and maintenance, and that's going to be one of the focus items with the budget going forward. Landscaping variance, I think in the end we underestimated the cost of landscaping going into this year, so we're going to have to, one of the things we'll be doing from the Finance Committee perspective is trying to do a deeper drill down on the costs going into next year. Some of it was unanticipated. You're starting to see things like fuel surcharges creeping into the Crawford invoices to cover inflation, just like we've been hearing on the news. So we're all having to deal with that on a personal level and on a community level. The other remaining 10% of the expenses, by and large, are in pretty good shape. From a balance sheet perspective, it's pretty stable. It fluctuates a bit as we go through the course of the year, as we take in our money from our quarterly assessments, and then it's drawn down from a liability perspective. And in the balance sheet for our reserve account is also pretty stable, and as we move into next year, it'll start reflecting some of the interest gains that we gain with our new account. And that's it. Okay.
Can you motion to accept the treasurer's report? Or not?
We don't usually.
Not usually?
Do we want to make a motion to accept the treasury report?
Sure.
Okay.
Of course.
All right, someone make the motion.
I move we accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion or questions from the board members? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Todd?
Aye.
Reinhardt, aye.
Thank you.
Excellent report.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I have a question.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well, I know a lot of us have thought about this. We don't know what's going to happen with our housing market. Our reserves have been funded for some time by home sales. If that weakens, we need another source for funding our reserve. I assume that we're doing that as part of our budget process.
Yes,
right?
yes. In fact, I'm personally looking at that part of the budget. Okay.
Now, what I am seeing, I'm a realtor, been in this market for 21 years. I'm seeing there's plenty of demand. The issue is supply of homes that are available to sell. So it will catch back up, but there'll be a lag period where we'll need to supplement that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, and then one of the things is there's a few moving parts. One is looking at what our reserve drawdown needs are going to be with and without Ian issues. You know, we've got the normal things of life that have to go through and be restored and repaired and maintained over time. So once we have that as sort of like a baseline, then we can look at different financing scenarios for that.
Okay, moving on to old business. Thank you, Bill. Chuck, you're up for power washing.
Yep, power washing, old business. Power washing of the sidewalks was tabled at the last meeting with a question on what was covered in the proposal for Allied. Allied Cleaning was presented with Brightside and Benitez. They are going to power wash all the sidewalks. I think what happened in the last meeting, half of the sidewalks were done, and the question was, are they doing just the other half? Allied is committed to doing all of the sidewalks.
Is common sidewalks or sidewalks along and in the neighborhoods as well?
Common sidewalks, Veterans, Pine Island, Community Center, Surfside Gate, intersections, parking stops, Calypso, dog parks, all the commons. Is there a motion to accept Allied?
I motion that we accept Allied washing.
A second. Hold on.
Okay, and any discussion before we take the vote on the power washing?
I do have one question. Chuck, I think that Brian was probably instrumental in getting these responses. I mean, I know that you were involved as well. Did, not to go backwards, but did Brian have any feedback that would be valid to hear?
Yeah. I mean, we both have used Allied before in the past. They were actually cleaned our Veterans Monument for a couple $100. I don't know if you know, but we had a lot of green mold that was on the Veterans Monument. We asked them to come and take a look at that for us, and they took care of it. They have a larger fleet of equipment to be able to handle this size project as well.
Okay. But
Brian recommended
nobody that would you. Okay, that's all I want to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Todd Reinhardt?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All passed. Okay.
Second,
Pool equipment.
pool equipment. Okay, pool equipment. You do pool equipment?
I quit.
Okay. So when I first came on board, there was this proposal here for $300,000 to renovate the pool. I was asked to seek other alternative bids. We were able to get in touch with a competitor, and the name of the competitor is Caribbean Pools. The original bid was for $300,000, just under $300,000, $293,000. Caribbean Pool is coming in at $156,276.02. They are going to replace the 10 pool heaters, renovate the well pumps, basically the very similar scope. There was a little bit more scope in the $300,000. We're replacing all the plumbing and all those good things. I did review this with my assistant general manager. He's approved as well. So I'd like to put in front of the board perhaps approval for Caribbean Pools to be awarded this opportunity to renovate the pool heaters and the scope of work that has been outlaid for them.
You want a motion?
Yeah, I'm kind of motion heavy here.
Yeah.
I'm very emotional.
Yeah.
Okay.
What source is this? Is this source of funds reserves?
This was under reserves, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I move we accept that proposal.
I second it.
Motion, John.
Further discussion, I just have one thing.
I have a question, too.
Okay, so I don't have a question, but I do have a comment that I've been working on pools along with Brian, with Stan, with Kathy previously, with Heather, with Chuck, It is really difficult to get qualified people out here to evaluate it. I had told you at one meeting, I think our town hall meeting, that we had an engineer come out and tell us everything, list everything that was necessary, and that's all in this bid that we're that we just are discussing and voting on. So that's what we end up with, was those
It's one of
two
our
bids.
critical assets. We need to fix it.
Yep.
We need those pool heaters.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. What is the timeline for this?
Prior to the hurricane, they were going to be able to get it done after Christmas. The pool heaters sooner. Obviously, it's starting to get a little chilly out there. So the pool heaters we could probably do a lot sooner.
Okay.
How many pool heaters are we going?
10. We currently only have 7 operational.
Do we know how long the pool will be out of operation?
The pool heaters we can do in the off hours. The construction will probably we'll probably lose a few days to do some of the other work, only because the pool has to be shut down and the chemicals may drop down to a point where we can't be in the pool. But the construction takes place off into the pool farm.
Okay.
I have one question as well. When I'm looking at the two proposals, the 293.5 estimate has a lot more detail that doesn't necessarily, like for like, translate over to the 156 just from a quick look.
Yeah.
It does appear that way. The main concern that I have is that we had an issue with needing to move things up to surface. Is that included in both of these?
That was actually taken care of prior to this.
Okay.
That was the $18,000 to lift the feature pumps up.
So in your opinion and that of your assistant manager, are these literally like for like proposals?
They're not like for like proposals because the McCullers is actually changing piping. The piping is underneath the ground. They were talking about shutting the pool down for 3 months to change out piping that doesn't seem to have any problems with it right now. What we're doing is focusing on the mechanical side and the technology side to get the pool operational. The pool heaters are past their life expectancy.
Yep.
The pool motors obviously have been rebuilt several times. We've got the features out of the ground now, which is one of the issues that we had. So it's not like for like. I don't see us shutting down the pool for 3 months.
Okay, so when I'm looking at the difference, even considering the lack of piping, as you mentioned, that's a substantial amount, and I can't imagine the piping is going to be that big of a difference. Honestly, I don't have a problem with the lower dollar amount, because if that only leaves out the piping that you spoke of, that's certainly something that we can revisit if on an as-needed basis. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Todd Reinhardt?
I will vote, or I will abstain, only because I've not been provided the information to make an intelligent decision.
Fair enough. He didn't receive this packet, is what he's indicating.
It was emailed. That everybody else got it, right? No?
I got it by email. You did not receive it by email?
You didn't get it by email?
I did.
I did not.
You didn't kick back.
Are you abstaining, Todd?
All right.
No, I'm asking Todd. Did he not get the email from Chuck?
I received the agenda and the financials.
It was in that packet. It was all PDF.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so you abstain, and we have 5 yeses, so it passes. And we will look into that, Todd.
Next old business is DTE contract. What I'd like to put to the board for a decision is to Well, a little background. Bill and I have been working with getting some scope of numbers, as well as Grady, to understand the current situation with DTE and the path forward. There's what we can see is there's two opportunities as the contract lays out. We can continue down the road working with DTE and take on the increases that they're owed. That's on the table, or we can terminate their contract and move that forward as well. That, I believe, should go to a vote of the stakeholders, of which the community of the 613 should have an opportunity to vote on those two options.
The information that I have in relation to that, I would completely agree. And if you're looking for, if it's time for making a motion, I would gladly move that we move towards allowing those residents to make that choice between either of those two options.
Well, that choice needs a lot of information.
It does.
It will.
Can you hear me with this on, or should I take it off?
Yeah. Nope,
Okay.
can hear you.
I mean, I'm not a lover of DTE, as many are not here. But one, if we fire them, we owe a lot of money. It's a big chunk of money. Chuck has come up with an idea which I think is excellent. That is, if we keep DTE, let's hire somebody to check them every week. We go behind them and make sure they've done their job. And that way we can make it work. The proposal that DTE had for us was to extend the contract 6 months beyond its current phase. The current contract expires at the end of February of 23, right? March of 23?
March of 23.
Yeah. So
24.
24, I'm sorry, 24. Another year and a half. And if we do what Chuck suggested, is have someone go follow them up and ensure quality, I think we can make it work. However, we need to be very careful that next time, before that contract expires, we put out RFPs to multiple people and try to get a better deal. That's my thought.
That's one of the options.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there'll be two options. There'll be that option and two.
But do we have an alternative if we fire them?
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the choice is going to be continuing with DTE.
Yeah.
With an increase in assessment to the stakeholders.
Yes.
Or the stakeholders, sorry. So there's two choices, breaking down.
Yep.
Choice one is we continue with DTE at an increased cost through the remainder of the contract, in addition to some additional costs for the overseer to manage the quality. Or if the stakeholders choose to do so, they go and start taking control of their own landscaping.
Okay. Now, to do that, my understanding is that can be done on a street-by-street basis, but it has to be the whole street. Is that correct?
My understanding of the rules is that it would be a majority vote of the stakeholders.
The 631.
Okay.
613.
When you look at our bylaws, where there is an opt-out capability, we don't have that. Well, if we cancel a DT contract for any part of it, we lose the whole. We've essentially gotten rid of DT.
So if we do nothing, we are on the hook with DTE through March of 24. And we will be paying, we have to not only true up back payments to them. If we're going to institute the quality assurance plan, there's going to be an incremental cost associated with that.
But if we, however, abide by the current contract, the cost would be more than what DT has proposed. The DT has a proposal that is less than our current contract.
Right, yes. So
our current contract has escalators that we've been dodging, which will be significantly more than what they've offered. They offer, what, $75,000 per month, and then rising to 80.
So so you'll have the 613 units will see an increase in their assessment for their landscaping, no matter what. It'll be some increase. Or if we put it to a vote, each homeowner will be responsible for their own landscaping.
How much is the increase for them every month?
Well, take $10,000 and divide it by 613.
It's more than that. It's more than that. See,
my phone's in use for Todd, so I can't use my.
So
calculator.
I think we have to sit down and put the numbers in a legible format, so that everybody has the opportunity to really make their own choice, make a decision on this and how we. So I think at this point, what we're asking is to bring this up for consideration and vote at a later date. Am I correct, Chuck?
Yes.
Yes. So, and I think what we owe the community is a good layout of what the financial implication of each option is.
In the meantime, DTE's given us an ultimatum that if we don't have a decision, they're going to go ahead and bill us for the additional money, right?
And they have.
Yeah.
And they have. And that's why we're bringing this forward right now, because from the last finance control, I cannot approve an invoice over a certain amount of money, and their new invoice takes us back to what they should have been paid.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's why I'm bringing it to the table.
But when could we possibly expect that to be done? This vote. We couldn't get a quorum for the general election last year.
It can be done electronically. Talking to Chuck, my understanding is Town Square has the ability to do an electronic vote.
And that would be acceptable?
I believe it would be. We have to do a presentation like this to the community. So
the survey that went out showed a 40% rejection of DTE, the last survey, right?
That's a survey.
There was a lot of gray area, and the questions were not. That survey could have been refined to offer better, not different results, but better, more accurate feedback from the resident. In my opinion.
Is DTE, are we talking to them about this, and are they willing to hold off a while?
We're going to have to pay them their new rate.
Okay, for now.
For now.
And if we accept the proposal, will that be adjusted down because the rate of their proposal is less than the rate in the contract?
The rate of their proposal
is $75,000 a month now,
and it goes up to 80 or 80
in March.
Yeah. So there's an increase going back from September 1.
Okay. All right.
That's their new negotiated rate. So if I guess the question is, should we move forward and Bill and I will continue to put this together. We'll have a financial option 1, a financial option 2. We'll present that to the stakeholders, let them vote yes or no, or which one they want to go for, and see where we come out and what the masses want, and we can pursue it from there.
Okay.
Do we need a motion or a vote for that?
Me personally, as a general manager and a professional CAM, the more motions we have documented, the better it is. So I'm never going to tell you not to do a motion.
Well, the key here is moving forward. I will move that we do pursue those 2 options and give these residents the benefit of some relief.
I second it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Be my guest.
I second it.
Any further discussion? Todd, do you have any discussion on the DTE issue?
Yeah, Bill, how much are we presently in arrears based on the contract terms?
About $150,000.
I'm not good at numbers off the top of my head, Todd, but I'm going to guess if we go back to September 1st, we're about $15,000 in arrears now.
For this year.
For this year.
Correct.
So, and so part of the variance that I was referring to with landscaping has to cover that true up that we have to do based on the contract terms.
And how are we going to hold them accountable from a quality standpoint?
So I'll let Chuck answer, but as I understand it, what we would do is we essentially would hire a third party to oversee and do quality control over them.
Yeah, Todd, my suggestion is the mowing schedule is Monday to Thursday. They go to each a scheduled particular community. They're pretty much finished on Thursday, and they do other Friday spraying and things of that nature. By Monday or Tuesday, our phone starts ringing about all the spots that they missed and those kind of things that Billy used to deal with directly. I think that's too late. I don't really want the residents telling us that there's a problem. We'd like to have a licensed horticulture landscaper who can speak their language, that can follow them around for 4 hours on Thursday, do a checklist of all outstanding issues in that neighborhood, and immediately have DTE take care of it on Friday before they move to the next neighborhood. And that'll cost us maybe...
What's the additional cost for the third party?
Good question. Probably before the hurricane, it was going to be a few $100 a month, and now I'm not sure. We're going to have to find a landscaper right now that
was willing to do that.
Yeah.
I just find it, I get confused. I just don't understand how we have to hire a third party to check quality on a contractor that's supposed to be doing their job.
I agree with you.
I struggle with that. You know, we've debated, we've talked about doing something with DTE. It's about time that we do something. As a person who lives in a neighborhood with DTE, they've never, ever lived up to their commitments, and we need to be putting a plan in place to make a change. I know we're under contract, but you know, we're paying money with no accountability, which I really have a problem with.
The problem is our only option is them or none. We don't have an option of another party. So if there's none available, and the only one we've gotten a bid from is Crawford, which was $15,000 more a month than DTE. It was an unacceptable number. So I think we're trapping ourselves.
In my opinion, there could be a lot more done, because to settle for DTE, I'm not buying it. I just don't think that they've not lived up to their commitment, and yet we pay and we put a smile on our face, and now we're going to hire a third party to check their quality. Seems to be a little bit of a disconnect.
Well, Todd, let me see if I can answer that question, because we get the calls in the office, and no one on my staff, including myself, is not a horticulturist, so I can't go toe-to-toe with DTE when we start having in-depth discussions about cinch bugs. We get into the reason why your sod died is because overwatering, or cinch bugs, or tight mowing, or tracks. These are things that we're not experts on, and if we had another landscaper who can say, no, you're wrong, DTE, this is your problem, you need to fix it, that's one of the reasons we have. Because in my experience with DTE, 9 times out of 10, it's the homeowner's fault for why their sod died or what's going on. And that's frustrating. That's frustrating for the owner. It's frustrating for the management company as well. And I'm not the horticulturist who can argue that point with them because I don't have that knowledge base. But having someone to kind of walk behind them and point out their issues, I'm not saying this is something we live with forever. Maybe we get them on the right track and they follow a process, and we ride this out to March of 2024. But the other alternative is to cut them loose, pay them, and try to find an alternative situation.
No, I totally understand that. It's just we continue to do the dance with DTE. They underperform, they overpromise, and it's an inferior product for what we're paying per se. So I understand. We just need to put a plan in place to protect our property owners' interests.
That's kind of what we're trying to do right now, Todd.
Grady, I understand that, but as a person who lives in a DTE community, they have failed miserably over the last 2 years.
You were given an opportunity to participate in this discussion from the very beginning, and you chose not to.
That is incorrect. I did.
No, it's not.
Let's don't argue. Let's don't get into that. Please. Look, here's the thing. I like the idea of going to the residents. However, what's that going to accomplish? What if they say, what if 51% of the residents say, we want out? The 49% then are going to have to do their own lawns? People that don't even live here? Snowbirds? I think they elected us to make some decisions. Can't the board make this?
What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that we finish this contract with DTE, hold their feet to the fire, get the lowest possible price we can, which was offered, and move on. The other option is we do our own lawns. I personally wouldn't mind that. I think my lawn would be a lot better off if me or somebody I hired did it. But I'm looking at the community.
Many of the snowbirds would prefer to have that cared for, perhaps even at a more expensive cost, some would say. But the bottom line is that we have two options, like you said. We have to somehow grin and bear it until the end of this contract, or we have to offer these residents an opportunity to say, we'll pay a one-time $250 fee per home to get them out, and then we'll choose what our options are going to be. So that at the end of this contract, there's still going to be that choice. Do we hire another company to perform, or do we do it ourselves? The question is whether we're going to put the line in the sand now or put the line in the sand later. I think that the underlying issue here is trying to get better performance by hiring, as you said, a professional who knows how to walk the walk and talk the talk to make sure that their feet are being held to the fire. There is no good decision here. There's no easy option.
I would like to move on this, and I would like to see if any other board member has any further discussion, but I would like to move on the motion that's been made and seconded to move forward to present these two options, and I would like to have that vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Nay.
Todd?
Nay.
Okay. 3, so majority has it. So we will move forward and further discussion will continue.
Next topic is landscape gray areas. Does everybody know what gray areas are? Well, gray areas, thanks to Hurricane Ian, has kind of changed. The financials have changed on this, but I'm looking for a motion to once and for all address gray areas. The gray areas are a piece of property that was overlooked, that was one time covered by Crawford, and for some reason, something happened inside the contract where it changed, where we have little pieces of property that are part of the common element that are not being maintained and that they need to be. The proposal I had prior to the hurricane was for these areas like the outside fence of Bridle, the perimeter fence, at the end of the ponds and lakes. There's a little piece of property. There's hedgerows there that need to be trimmed, where the private owners trim up to a certain spot on both sides, and we just leave this long section of unmanicured property. Those are gray areas. The proposal would be to trim those twice a year. Obviously, now what we're doing is we're doing that trimming because of the hurricane. So this price structure is not relevant, but I would like to put this in the budget for next year, probably one time next year, so we address these. But I need to get an opportunity to get some pricing because...
What vendor?
This would be Crawford.
Good.
So we would extend Crawford's current contract and let them take care of these common area, gray areas to make sure that we don't have these gaps in our landscaping plan. We could table this, but I wanted to bring... No, it's up to you. But I'm doing this because I think we should budget for it for 2023.
I move we proceed with that plan.
And I would second that.
That's John. That's Grady.
The gray areas are not going to go away, and we lost track of those.
So all in favor for moving forward with Crawford?
Aye.
Todd Reinhardt?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. New business. What's that? Is that you?
I think that's you.
Me? For what? I think I touched it
We
already.
we already covered that.
We did it.
We did.
Okay. So new business, we are going to hold a special board meeting on roofing material. This issue with roofing material came upon us very suddenly after the hurricane. We have been focusing on one material, and as of this past Saturday, another material was introduced to the ARC committee and to the board of directors. The material is displayed over there if anybody wants to see it after this evening. We still have more due diligence that we need to do before we can make a recommendation. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be discussing that. So there's no details tonight. I'm sorry, we can't do it tonight. There's just not enough details. We're finding we have a company that comes in and tells us this product is great. Well, because they're selling it. And then we have a company that tells us this product is great because they're selling it. And then when we ask professionals about both products, we're hearing about a lot of issues with specifically one product. So we have further investigating that we need to do, and we will hold that final decision 2 weeks from today at 6 o'clock, November 10th. Okay. We're going to open for comments at the end of the board meeting. I need to move on. I'm sorry.
Can I just do the 14 day?
Sure, go for it.
So the reason why it's November 10th is because Florida statute requires a 14-day notice to owners. So you will get an email notification that the meeting will be held on November 10th at 6 o'clock here. That's as per Florida statute.
Okay. Can I ask a question? I see that we have a packet of 3 things here for painting of the monument.
That's next on the agenda.
Sorry.
Next up on the agenda is Grady. No, it's an issue that came up back in January, February. Monument painting. So the street monument painting, the painting at all of the gates, all of the structures, the main signage on veterans, all of them, all of the orange. I call it orange color. We are looking into having that redone. And we have estimates that were in the packet. Todd, did you not get these estimates?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything in my email box. Didn't see if it went into spam.
Okay. All right. So one thing that we're going to be doing, we do have one company that has offered within their bid to go ahead and paint 3 monuments, 3 street monuments, 3 different colors that I believe are already chosen, right?
I believe so, yeah.
I believe the colors have already been chosen. And so they will go ahead for free and paint those, and then we will hold a survey through Town Square and ask everybody's opinion on those colors. The first bid was from Noel Painting. I'm sorry. Okay. $9,700. That seemed to be a very low ball bid. We even went back and asked them, are you sure that that's your bid? And they said that it was. I don't know of anybody that has a connection or knows about them. The second one is Imperial Painting and Construction, and their bid was $13,136. Florida Painters proposed $17,200. And the final estimate came from Leo's Painting of Southwest Florida. I saved that one for last on purpose because I do have to disclose that is Heather Brokaw from Associa. That is her husband's business. And his bid was $17,098, and he's the one that offered to paint 3 of the monuments for free ahead of time for voting. So we need to discuss this a little bit and get the feeling of the board members on.
What's wrong with a low number? What's wrong with it?
Brian didn't have a real good, strong feel for the vendor's quality.
Really?
Based on recommendations.
He did or did not?
Did not.
Did not. And that was Brian?
Brian.
Okay.
Who, I hate to say this, but who, between these two, because I'm looking and they both seem to offer the same things, and there's $4,000 difference between the final 3. Did Brian have one that he felt was better than the other? And if so, why?
Well, I'd really have to ask Brian that, but I think what we were focusing on is eliminating the Knoll, which was really a lowball number, which I think he and I discussed. It's a name that you see the trucks driving down the road, but I don't really know if he's had experience with them, and I've never had experience with them. So we were kind of more focused on eliminating the lowball number and just keeping the rest that were within range.
Okay. Well, and to me that makes sense. I'm sorry to hog the comments here, and I like Heather, but I genuinely think that it's inappropriate because of business connections for her husband's business to be considered. And I'm sorry that that's the case, but I just think that's just the way I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Plus they're higher.
They are on the high end, yes. So to me, given that information, to me it's just down to Imperial and Florida Painters.
Yeah. How many monuments are there?
How many monuments?
27.
What was the final number? 28?
It's 27 monuments,
27?
and then we've got the entrance gates and.
So we get 3 for free, but then we still pay $17,000 for the rest. So that's not really free.
But he was going to paint those for just kind of like a display for us to look at.
For us to look at the colors.
Okay. So that wasn't going to be free.
I'd say take the lowest of the remaining bids if you think they're a reasonable supplier.
The only difference between the two of these that I see is that the higher price, the Florida Painters, does indicate that they'll be applying 2 finishes of 2 finish coats of the paint, where I don't see that Imperial is going to apply more than just the 1 coat. Or am I missing that? It just says 1 finish coat.
Yeah.
Whereas Florida Painter is applying 2 finish coats. I don't know. I'm not a painter, so I don't know what the benefit of 2 finish coats would be. But
well, I had asked Brian when he looked into this to do 2 because that orange is very strong, and I felt that was going to, from my experience personally, that was going to need 2 finish or a very strong first coat.
It'll fade very fast. We've
Yes.
seen it
With the
fade.
sun,
Yeah.
What's your recommendation, Chuck?
I have worked with Florida Painters before. I was satisfied with their work. Imperial, I haven't really worked with them. I've received quotes from them before, but I've never worked with them. So the only one I could speak of, and I haven't even worked with Leo, is Florida Painters.
You don't have a recommendation.
If I had to, I'd say Florida Painters, because I've actually hired them and they did a nice job.
So Grady,
It's
what
good
you're
enough for
saying?
me.
Grady,
It's good for me.
what you're saying is that for the $4,000, they're going to do 2 coats. Is that the only difference?
Yeah, that's what it appears. The finish coat, which is really what you're looking for to keep the fading from. But I mean, is it going to be worth $4,000? Personally, I think it probably would be. We've got a lot of monuments. It's not like one. I mean, if it were my house, then I would be like $4,000 is a big difference. But for the amount of monuments that we have that are I think the $4,000 is a small amount. But I'm not a painter. I don't know if that second finish coat, will be the difference that we're looking for. But it would seem to me that it might be.
I mean, when I paint a wall in my house and I see that it needs another coat because the kids messed it all up, another coat is always good. At $4,000, you're right. To paint 27 monuments, 2 coats for $4,000, I think it's a decent deal. If we have to go back and touch all 27, I bet you it's going to cost a lot more money. And having Chuck vouch for them a bit, I feel more comfortable with the Florida painters, even though it's $4,000 more dollars. But 2 coats, I think it's worth it.
I do want to mention Florida Painters says that their work includes pulling back mulch and landscaping material to paint below grade. Imperial says that the association will have to have landscaping do that.
So, yeah, it's a no-brainer now.
Well, I'm sure that we could get Crawford to do it, but we don't know what that cost would be.
Yeah, right.
That's 27 monuments plus gates.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll make a motion to go with Florida Painters.
I second it.
Any further discussion? Todd, do you have an opinion, or are you going to abstain from this? I'm sorry.
No, I will go with the general manager's recommendation on this.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Todd.
Reinhardt, aye.
Okay. Finance Committee.
New member. Yes, I'm asking the board to approve a new member to the Finance Committee, Andrew Emmerich. He approached me a few months ago, asking if he could be part of the board. It would be a backfill for my position that opened up when I took on the treasurer's role. Andrew has a good background in general business and in real estate, and has experience with board management from other HOAs. And he's been, in the 2 meetings that he attended, I found that he had some valuable contributions. So I would recommend that he be approved for a member of the committee.
I was reading his resume, and I got tired of reading.
I was just. You said good.
I agree.
You said good, and I thought extensive.
Yeah, whoever you are, if you're here, man.
He's very impressed. Very impressive resume.
Andrew, stand up.
Andrew, stand up.
Hey,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank
sit
you.
there. Holy crap.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Todd?
Reinhardt, aye.
Thank you, Todd.
You're in. Good.
Anything further for you?
Just on the Finance Committee, you want me to go through the rest of the Finance Committee now or later?
Let's go ahead and start with you. Sure, why not?
Okay, so the rest of the Finance Committee report. The Finance Committee, we met twice, once on October 19th, and then we had a following meeting on October 25th. The first meeting on the 19th was to catch up because we originally were scheduled to have a meeting the day before Ian hit, and obviously we all had other things to do that day. So we used the meeting on the 19th to catch up on the financials, start talking about the budget process. We re-reviewed the lobby pay information that was provided to us by Heather, and the Finance Committee unanimously recommended that we go ahead and implement the lobby pay application so that the residents can pay by credit card at the lobby.
Cool.
On the 25th, we reviewed the year-to-date financials and also went through a more extensive review of the Ian financial impact, the same information that we reviewed at the board meeting today. We also spent a lot of time working on the budget, and the way that we've structured the budget planning process is that we have assigned various members of the Finance Committee are going to be working with the different committees like the Lakes Committee, the Landscape Committee, and they will be reaching out and starting to put together a straw person budget for next year. Kathleen and I will be meeting with Chuck to work on the administrative and salary-related items associated with the budget. And we'll be having our next meeting on 11/15. And at that meeting on 11/15, we'll do our first roll-up of the budget numbers and starting to see where we are relative to working through the rest of the process. The other thing that we did discuss at the meeting this week is that we had some discussion about the costs associated with the Christmas decorations, and we unanimously recommended that we go ahead with the holiday decorations, and we're in agreement with the replacement of the holiday tree.
The big tree.
The big tree, yes. And that was the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Landscaping, Grady.
First, again, I'd like to, every chance I get, I'd like to thank the members of the Landscaping Committee. What a hard-working group dedicated to not just finding new plants and materials and ways to do things, but they keep a watch on everything that goes on. They unfortunately haven't had any opportunity to have any effect on the DTE contract, but that's not in their wheelhouse. Again, to all the members on the Landscape Committee team, I appreciate all of your hard work and dedication. Yes, especially her. So, and if any of you would like to join and learn something about the community, it's a great group of people. They gather during the week, and they go over things that really are a benefit to the community. Landscaping, the lakes, and the pool are our biggest assets, and this team stays on top of it. Having said all of that, several months ago at this point, they had gotten together and updated the approved plant list and the list of plants that are not allowed. It is in each of our packets. Todd, I'm sorry you probably didn't get this because it's in part of that packet. It's right before the large balance sheet document. This is an updated version. It's cleaned up. It offers some examples of pictures. As soon as we approve it, presuming that we will approve it, this will go out onto the sites that are appropriate so that customers can go to it and look at it. Especially now as you're looking to replace plants, I think that everybody has begun to realize that the oak trees and the shady ladies weren't necessarily holding up very well during this kind of weather. That the palm trees, while they don't look all that attractive at the moment, the majority of those are coming back, and those can be a very nice accent to your property. And it just furthers the semi or quasi-Caribbean feel that we have here in our community. So even if you haven't, the board members, even if you hadn't looked at it, I would like to move that we submit and approve this plant list for use moving forward.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Is this on Live Sandoval?
Yes, this would go on Live Sandoval. It would be available for the Town Square app. And I'll be honest with you people, if you want a copy of this and you don't know how else to get to it, send me an email. I will make a copy of this and I will send it to you. It's a nice little packet, and it'll give you an opportunity to look at. And you can start going out and looking at some of the plants that we have. We have a lot of plants that in our even in our common areas that shouldn't be allowed. So just use this as a template as to where you want to move forward as you renew and replace your property.
We have a lot of plants that are not allowed in the commons.
Yeah. The probably the most common one is the Mexican petunia, the one with the little purple flowers.
Oh,
some of them are
yeah.
white. That's not supposed to be here. But bear in mind, a lot of these things were put in by the original developers. So that things like that can't be changed.
So this happened after
exactly.
They were already installed. Okay, I understand. Okay, any further discussion with the board on the approval? The approval of this plant list? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Reinhardt?
Reinhardt, yes. I did receive that particular list under a separate email.
Perfect. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else, Grady, on landscaping? Because you're up for ARC then.
Yeah. Nothing else for landscaping. ARC, I have worked on and off with the landscape committee for a long time, since I moved here, back in the Mr. Giordano days. And ARC the same way. And these are, right now, these are the two most put upon committees, in my opinion. And ARC has been through such a difficult time with this roofing. Social media has been eating people alive about the roofing materials and the things that will become options. And the ARC committee has put in literally sweat and tears over these decisions. They have met with, looked at, touched, reached out, and looked at all different kinds of things. They have really gone above and beyond. With the leadership of Marty Tubb, some of these members have spent a huge amount of their personal time getting to the point where they can support this board on a decision that you guys are going to see in 14 days. The ARC committee does not have any recommendations at this time because they've spent literally all of their time and effort heading into that decision. But I think that you guys will see and appreciate what they have done on your behalf. They're trying to help guide you into making the best possible decision that we can have moving forward. And the last thing I'll offer on this ARC committee decision heading into this roofing decision, these people are looking at this from the standpoint, and I think that you all need to consider this as well. Whatever decision this board makes on roofing materials, that is going to be something that everyone in this room is going to have to look at every day until you sell your home or until you die.
Talk about being dramatic.
You laugh, but consider what age all of us are. Consider how long all of this roofing will last. This is probably the most important decision this committee and this board will make in quite a while. Please understand that they have done as much as they can do, and they're going to give you the best options that they can give you. So just know that they're trying their hardest. That's all I've got for ARC.
Okay, thank you. Amenities, Stan?
I just got a couple things to touch up on. The amenities, Chuck pretty much went over everything. I just want to go over the minor little things. The pool should be up and running soon, hopefully, all nice so that soon, as soon as they get the chemicals ready and everything else is done, the pool pumps are being fixed. It should be noted that the money that we spent before to raise the pumps up, that we got a little bit of heat for spending the $18.5. We're using those pumps right now to run the pool. So there's always a reason for doing things, and if there's no reason, then hey, it worked out. So patience. Brian painted the water features while the water was low, so that we don't have to endure any more money to do that. So Brian was out there, he painted them real nice. In reference to the heaters, I've been getting questions about 10 heaters, being too much or too little. Speaking with Brian, we have the money for the heaters. We're going to get 10 new heaters. They're not all going to be running at the same time. From speaking to him, put 2 on reserve, let's say for 6 months. Run 8, then rest the 2, then put them in motion, and then rest another 2. This way they can obviously last a lot longer. I don't know what they did before, but I don't think that's what they did. The gymnasium the doors are locked when they're supposed to be open. That's part of Vera's problem with the swiping and all that. The doors are locking on their own. Yeah. So the doors are locking on their own. We can't do anything about it. I mean, my wife has gotten locked out, and she's going, "Can you do something about that?" And I'm like, "Oh." Click. So can't do anything as of right now. I'm sorry about that. Vera's got to do whatever they have to do to make sure that these locks open and close. That's it. We're stuck behind Vera at that point. If you're using the gym, The new equipment, I want to keep it new. I don't have any money until probably, I think, another 2 years to actually replace anything in there. Please take care of it. Getting reports, complaints about, the big guys getting the weights up and slamming them or using the machines. Can you take it easy, please? We know you're huge. And just, calm down a little bit. Use them proper. That way they last. And then, trust me, when the money comes back around, if I'm still here, we're going to get new stuff. And just keep that going also. That's pretty much for the amenities and the gym because everybody already, took care of everything else. I need to make a motion to get Jack Clint approved to be on the amenities committee. That's Chuck's left-hand man, and that's pretty much it.
His assistant manager.
Yeah, he's all. And before we do that, it should be noted that Jack has done a lot already for the pool, the grates. Yeah. And him and Chris, actually, because Chris is standing right here. Without Chris, Jack would even be there. So thank you. And that, just like Grady's thanking their committee, I mean, this amenities committee is doing a fantastic job, and they care about everything around here, and they want to keep moving forward and also replacing and going forward. The next thing is going to be the horseshoe little thing that nobody uses. We got to replace that, and they're assigned and they're going to do it. So I make a motion to approve Jack Clint to be on the amenities committee.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it for me.
Aye.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Lakes Committee, please.
Yeah. Well, we call them lakes. They're retention ponds. One thing I want to say is they did their job.
Yeah. They really did.
That was their job, to keep from flooding this place, and they did it well. We need to pay attention to groundwater and storm drain content because that's, all that stuff's going into the lakes. And make sure we maintain healthy littorals, and then the next is erosion control. We had a meeting in here, invited everybody who wanted to come. We had Matt Lewis from Lake Doctors. Can you hear me with this thing on?
Yes, yeah.
From Lake Doctors, and he had a great presentation. Those of you, I recommend you get on Video Box and see it. It's about 50-something minutes long. It really explains lakes and their health and how to keep them maintained. I'd suggest you all look at those. We're recommending that we look at not just our current company, but someone else too. Right now, Solitude is our lake management company. And we pay them a pretty good penny to do this. And I don't think it's always been perfect. So we want to look at some alternatives. And one of the alternatives is, in fact, Lake Doctor. And that's where Matt's from. So we're looking at that. We're also going to need to do an erosion study. We can't do it until the water level goes down. And we have to engage someone to do that erosion study. At that meeting, I finally got some wonderful people to volunteer to be on the Lakes Committee. So I'm going to read their names and ask that they be admitted to this committee. Stuart Seckler, Patricia Feliciano, Brian Feliciano, Jane Simonelli, Mark Pizzuto, Mary Beth Pizzuto, and Kimberly Kroll. And I gave you this list to put in the record.
I second it. Any discussion?
I will call a meeting of the Lakes Committee in the next couple of weeks. Right?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Reinhardt, aye.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Now, when we have this meeting, I'll ask you to submit. You need documentation that you look at the form to submit, and also you need to sign an agreement. And so one of the things we're going to ask you to do is help us on the budget, because the Lakes budget is very important for next year, and that's one of the main things that we'll be doing right away with the Lakes Committee. So thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, social. Marilyn asked me to read about her committee met October 12th. The haunted house had to be canceled due to the hurricane and lost time to prepare for that. Trick-or-treating, not open to the public. Homeowners may have guests. We are, in fact, having 5 Cape Coral Police off-duty officers to man the gates and patrol the community, watching for the wall, fence breaching, and crowd control. There's been an ad placed in News Press to release announcing the event is canceled and signs at the gates, and that was at the behest of CCPD. This Saturday is the trunk or treat in the clubhouse parking lot. We have approximately 22, 24 car trunks that will be passing out candy. Probably right now we have about 120 plus residents signed up for that. The future meetings will be discussing the budget for 2023, and if Christmas was moving forward with events, they will continue to plan on that. And their next meeting is November 9th at 2 o'clock. I don't have anything on communications.
Kathleen, I'd like
I'm sorry?
a bit of encouragement. My wife, Lynn, talked to Lauren today, said enter her puppy for the contest of puppies.
Oh, yeah.
She's the only one.
Oh, we need pets.
We need more people
We need
bringing the
pets for
puppies for the
costume.
puppy costume contest. On Saturday. Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
Thank you. Mr. Ott, is there anything on communication? Because I didn't get a report. Oh, okay. 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 Do you know the next meeting date? Okay. Thank you. Neighborhood reps. We had a meeting at Coffee and Donuts, and I did not bring my minutes with me. That was bad. I just realized that. Sorry. Did I give them in the report? Are they in the report?
I don't see them.
I don't think so.
Okay. My bad. We will post that on Town Square because it's long. And at this time, I am fried. I cannot think of what was, unless anybody's here from the neighborhood reps that thinks there's anything pertinent to mention from the meeting. Go ahead. Okay, thank you.
Could you repeat that on the mic?
Can you repeat that?
No, you.
Me, repeat what? Oh, on the mic. Okay, go ahead. Say it again. The hedge where? I'm sorry. Between Hopefield and Sutherland. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
I apologize to the neighborhood reps. Lori, is she here? Is there anything? No. Okay, thank you. And covenants. Okay, covenants. We had, before Hurricane Ian, houses with mildew to address. We are not going to address houses with mildew for quite a while because I'd say, give me a number of how many houses have tarp or need work. So Chuck and I are going to be discussing further how we're going to reconstruct covenants, how it's going to affect what's in the bylaws and the after effects of Hurricane Ian. But one thing that will move forward specifically because of the debris in the streets, we will go back to towing cars starting November 1st. Starting November 1st, cars will be towed from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m., and there has been an increase in the past couple of weeks of cars on the streets. And the other issue is shutters. The shutters, we extended that a little bit beyond what the city requires, but by November 5th, we'd like the shutters down. Okay? If anybody has any issues with that, they can email Chuck to discuss further. Hurricane shutters. So we have enough time to do another question and answer. I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting is November 17th, and I'll invite any board members that want to stay, and we'll further discuss and address any questions.
We have a special meeting on the 10th.
Yeah, I announced that already. The special meeting on the 10th. Sorry, next board meeting, official board meeting is November 17th.
I move we adjourn.
We don't have to do that when remember I discussed it already, so.
Really?
I adjourned the meeting.
I was asleep.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, second it anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.